don't know what it did. I think it just shut me out.
Said on mine that webinar is now streaming live.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Yay. Oh, it always does this to me. Okay, so welcome everyone. It is Tammie Pike again from the Mumpreneur Movement magazine and the Mumpreneur Movement group. I'm really excited today to be bringing a very special guest to you and to discuss some of the topics that really aren't being seen or spoken about in the overall public about, you know, what's happening in the world right now, and especially for mums who too, like the whole world have changed. So before we get too much into it, thank you so much, Caroline, for coming and sharing what we're going to be talking about today.
Thank you, Tammie. Fabulous to be here. And hi, everyone.
So Caroline is a passionate life coach, motivational speaker, and creator of the Be the Impossible courses. From childhood sexual abuse to over 20 years of addiction and mental health issues, Caroline finally got sober in 2009. Since then, she has gone on to represent Australia in triathlon, climb Everest Base Camp, complete an honours degree, compete in national surf life saving events, have a successful corporate career, and run a thriving fitness business. She achieved all of this as a sole single parent and volunteered over 50 hours a year to various community organisations, including being an active surf lifesaver. Caroline is passionate about inspiring women to reach their dreams. She emphatically believes that she can overcome significant life obstacles, then any woman given support and encouragement can achieve the impossible. Her life purpose is to help others and find fulfillment and happiness in their own lives. Well, like you really have, like I know you and I know your story, but when it comes to these, like your understanding and knowledge of these kinds of situations in yourself, like is really like your skills and mindset are really able to help others in this, you know, state, aren't you?
Yeah. Look, you know, even when I listen to it, I go, oh my God, is that me? Sort of thing. And I go, I think the really good thing though, I've got to that point where I look at all that stuff and even the really dark and negative stuff, and I can look at it and go, you know, I learned and I grew so much from that in hindsight, you know, and I think that's the thing, like now, like with all the stuff going on and, you know, the scare and the fear and all that, we're looking at it right now. And sometimes we've got to like open our perspective a little bit to what we've been through in the past, and the fact that, you know, like most situations in 6 months' time, we often go, oh, that wasn't really that bad.
Yeah, that's right. And it's perspective, isn't it? But I think like we had a bit of a chat beforehand, and I think we're going to delve straight into it because I think we really need to focus on some of the really big topics at hand at the moment. And like I know I've had a little bit of fun about it, but there is such a serious side to mental well-being, especially right now, because there's so much stress going on in the world that is also reflecting in a lot of women's mums in a world as well. And not just, you know, men as well, but we're focusing on mums in business, and especially those who are either losing business, are trying to pivot and change, and so, you know, transform their business whilst having their kids at home. So I'd love to share, or, you know, to talk more in depth about this is, what is your thoughts when it comes to women who are currently struggling, and how can they go about, like, you know, working through this? But what are your thoughts on what women are going through right now?
Yeah, I totally, and I don't think we can sugarcoat it. Like it's a really difficult situation for women to have almost been thrown in. And we know, what is it, women still do 80% of the housework anyway. So to add isolated at home, trying to work and your kids as well, you know, and there's some women who've managed that because they've been doing it for a little while. But most of the women who are at home now have never done this before, all in one hit. And my biggest concern, even before the virus and the pandemic, is women coping with alcohol. You know, I've spoken to so many women who come home, stressful day, have a glass of wine, then another glass of wine. And that's like culturally acceptable. And I think now, being isolated, that pressure is so much higher that the natural thing, you know, whether that's wine or eating is another one. We're going to, you know, the main triggers for stress and mental health are financial stress, relationship stress, isolation, loneliness. That's pretty much what we've got, like, in a nutshell right now. So a lot of women are going to go to that place of comfort, which will either be, food, alcohol, or social media. So it's a really big concern. And I think the first step for me is like awareness. Just being aware that that's your trigger, or that you're crossing over a line, and it's okay to know that, because you've got to acknowledge it before you can change it. And I think often a lot of people don't want to acknowledge it because of the stigma, but you can't change things unless you're willing to recognize that it is an issue. So, even today, like, I've been sober 10 years. When I'm stressed and tired and vulnerable, I call it like the devil and angel shoulders. And I like have little conversations in my head all the time. And this one will be going, go on, just do it. You'll feel better. And this one will be like, fuck off, or it'll catch me sometimes unaware, and I'll think I've been running fine. And then all of a sudden I'll have this dark thought, and I'll just be like, this side will be like, oh my God, like, you've been sitting there waiting for 3 years to finally come back and get me. So I think there's a complacency too, that we think that we've dealt with our drinking too much, we've dealt with our not eating or eating too much, or any other addictions. But then under extreme stress, it will raise its ugly head. And being aware of that is so vital.
And I think it's also thank you so much for sharing. I totally, think that what you said is amazing. But also bring it back to letting go of shame. Like, once you have the awareness that you have an addiction, because it could be an addiction to anything that you reach to under that time of stress, like you said, and if it's healthy or unhealthy, because it could be, overdoing something, and overgiving, and over, trying to fix everyone else's lives, especially in this situation when you're bored or you're feeling, because the thing is, isolation means that you're alone with yourself a lot, or your family, and that you have a lot of stuff that you're going to be looking at. There's going to be everything reflected to you through your kids and through your husband, and it's going to be condensed, you know what I mean? It's just going to be so full on in your face. And you've got to be, you have to have the courage and the strength, I believe, to be able to go, okay, what is going on? Like, my daughter this morning completely lost it, and I'm like, what's going on? So we have a bit of a change happening around home at the moment, and there's a little bit of stress, and so she's reflecting what my husband and I are feeling. And so it's like understanding that, okay, I'm having the awareness, how can we support her through it? Like, she still has boundaries, and still, like, saying those words or being like that is not okay. But we see it, like, as soon as something changes within us, it reflects out to our kids. And I know I kept, for a while, I even joked around and did a little video on my personal Facebook page about keeping going to the chocolate. But because what I focused on, I kept doing. So because I was making fun of it, I was like, oh, eating chocolate. Now, like, it actually became a thing. I just kept going to the chocolate every time I got stressed. I went, actually, this is not good for me, because, I've started getting breakouts and all that kind of stuff. But it was more that I was going towards something every time something got stressful. And I'm like, well, I don't need that. What can I replace with that? So I'd love to share, or ask you first before I share mine. But with these addictions that can seem so, you have have that willpower to stop it, but really for me, I find that making it something better, that feels better, that it might take a little bit more energy to create or do, but it actually feels better in the end, and understanding that. So what about you? What do you reckon, Caroline, when it comes to that?
Look, and I'm so passionate about exercise. And and that exercise, like exercise, meditation's exercise, walking's exercise. It doesn't have to be hard, solid exercise that gets a sweat up. It's something that makes you feel peace and calm. And one thing I'm talking about, like, stigma, and like what I'm seeing a lot on the internet a lot, and I know, is this whole thing about stay at home, and we all get that, but do you know what? If you're going out to exercise and you're social distancing and you're doing all the right things, that's vital to your health. That's vital to your immunity. It's vital to your mental health. And so what I find every morning, and so that's another thing I find is like routine. So I know the first week when I closed my gym, and that was a bit of a devastation to close the gym, and then it came as a big shock and everything like that. But then the first week I was a bit wishy-washy because I didn't have to get up. So I had no routine. And like within a few days, probably 5 days, I went, I'm feeling all over the place. So I went, I've got to get back into routine. So I went back to setting my alarm at 5 a.m. And every morning now since then. And so, look, I let myself sleep until 6 a.m. now because I realised I have been getting up at 4 a.m. for 3 years. So I just went, I can go easy a little bit too, be kind to myself. But I've been getting up every morning at 5. I either go for a run, a bike ride, an ocean swim. I did a big ocean swim this morning. And I find my mental health, my state of mind for the rest of the day is so much better if I've done that. And I think, like, even the days I go, I won't do it now, I'll do it later, we never do. Well, 50% of the time we don't do what we wanted to do. But if you get up and you're focused on that's what you're going to do first thing in the morning, and especially for mums, you know, you need your time out. Like, and if that means, sometimes that might mean you have to get up earlier before the kids get up. But, you know, let's not saying that all this is going to be easy, but it's vital to have that you time. I think it's really important to get up, have some time to yourself, have some space. And yeah, I'm like, I can't push the whole exercise, fresh air thing enough at the moment, for mums especially, because you know, you're going to have a reasonably stressful day. Let's be honest. Let's not go, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to do that, and then the rest of my day is going to be perfect. No, it's not going to work like that. But do you know what? You're going to manage things a lot better if you've done that for yourself. It's like that, you know, and we hear it all the time, the oxygen mask. You need to put the oxygen mask on. You're only as good for everyone else as you are for yourself. And I don't think women ever put enough priority on their own well-being, especially mums. And I know, you know, you put everyone first, and because you think it's selfish, but realistically, you're a way better mum if you can look after yourself. And I know it's a really hard one for women to get their head around because, you know, society guilts and shames us into doing everything for everyone else. But it's, you know, it's not true. It's not true. It's just simply not true.
And I think too, like, that's the whole thing, is not having to do it all yourself, especially if you have kids so I have a 5, a 9, and 11-year-old. And like for the last couple of years, I've been getting them to help out with chores because it's like trying to balance like 3 businesses, kids, school, you know, all that kind of life, my own life, you know, it was just, I was trying to do too much. And then, like, obviously we have a cleaner coming in once every fortnight, sorry. And all that kind of stuff, because it was just too much. I just couldn't cope. I'm like, well, what can I outsource? And I know a lot of women struggle with outsourcing different things, but even if it's a wash, like I know one woman who just outsources her ironing because she just, you know, doesn't like ironing. There's another woman who, you know, gets someone just to come and do dusting, or specific things that just, you know, when you know it's done, makes you feel good. And you want that feel good, that support, and knowing you don't have to do it alone. But also, I believe, especially now when you're home with your kids, is to teach them skills and, you know, get them to help out chores. And now I know that it can be really difficult to do that because sometimes I don't do it good enough or perfect to our standards. But if we teach them now, like now they can do, like my kids did 3 washing baskets onto the line, like putting the washing out. They did 3 loads today. And that saved me whilst I was cleaning and doing stuff around the house. But for me, it took that stress off. And also my love language is collaboration. So I felt good when someone helps me. I think anyone feels good when someone helps them. But what about you as a single mom? What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, things that can help them?
I think while we're doing that, I'm just going to grab my battery charger as well. And
But what Caroline will share that she's also an amazing coach who does work on mindset. So if you are, after you have a watch of this, make sure to go check her out. We'll drop all the social media links below, because she's helped so many. She's like, her life experience, amazing in her even professional life skill set, like running teams, you know, big businesses. So she's got what what you are needing if you're in that space of mindset, business, and support in all areas of life. So awesome. So what do you think about the balance, especially single moms?
Like, so my son's now 18, and he's around somewhere, so I'll be careful. Hopefully he's got his headphones on. And look, he's always helped around. Like, he's always been pretty good. Like, he doesn't do a lot of the stuff, but there's only 2 of us, so it hasn't been that bad. But, you know, when I have been able to, I've got a cleaner in. I just don't like cooking. And do you know what? I didn't even like being a mother, like, to be honest. And I'm okay with that. I think it's okay to say, I don't like parenting, or I don't like cooking. It doesn't make me a failure. It just means I don't like cooking. There's a million things I'd rather do than cook and clean. But so I have like takeaway frozen meals that I get. That's my backup plans. Amadeus, recently, he's salad boy. So whenever I put something on, I go, you've got the salad, you know, get him involved. Or, you know, as he's got older, like, it's been easier because I don't like cooking. I just go, like, you know, if he's been at uni, or I go, what time are you coming home? I said, I can't wait, because I'm always starving at like 5 o'clock. I'm having my dinner now. Fend for yourself. I think the biggest stress for me with eating and children was them not eating. So if I put the effort into the food and then they were fussy, he was fussy or didn't eat, I took that on as my failure. So one thing I had to do is really let go of that and go, do you know what? Kids don't starve. Generally, kids won't starve themselves. And if they go through a period where all they want to eat is like corn, whatever, you know, you don't have, I think what I've learned is you don't have to be a perfect mum. There is no such thing as a perfect mother. You do whatever suits your household. And I'm just sitting there, my ironing just slowly piles up, and, you know, until I get round to it. But that's okay. And I just don't, I like my house clean. It's generally pretty clean, but I don't get too caught up in it being messy or me being behind, because I try and prioritise my health and quality time with Amadeus. So sometimes I'll sit here in my house be a mess, and I'll go, oh, do you want to go to Grilled for dinner? You know, back in the day when we could. Those things. Or like, can you pick, you know, you just got to do what you do. I used to pay Amadeus when he was little $2 to be quiet. Because I'd be like, he was a talker. And especially for his car, like, it would do my head in. So I go, how about I pay you $2 if you can be quiet till we get there? And I go, that's fine. But I think there's so much pressure, especially now. I see, like, it wasn't necessarily around so much when Amadeus was little, but all the books and forums and blogs on school lunches and everything. I think there's even more pressure to be the perfect mother. Whereas I think, you know, I was actually a reasonably dysfunctional mother, you know, and I had addiction up until he was 7. So we survived that. And then, you know, we had to survive the first 3 years of my sobriety, where I was like an emotional wreck half the time. But you get through, and you build resilience getting through those moments. And I look back now and I go, the biggest thing I think as a mother is that your kids know you love them, and your kids know that you've got their back. You're open. I'm super open with Amadeus about everything, you know, and that includes like what's going on now with your kids. I think it's really important because if they see, again, it gets back to, if they see you happy. I think Amadeus once, when he was about 8, said to me, it doesn't matter what I say to him, what I do is what he'll follow.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes down to, like, just even from your own happiness levels. If you're happy and comfortable and calm, that's the best thing you can do for your child. And it's not about having the perfect dinners or the perfect house or whether the clothes are washed or, you know, whatever. It's just about having that relationship with your kids. And I think focus more on that than just the external. And that comes from, how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah, amazing. And I think too, like you said it beautifully in there, is that it all sums up into finding what works for you and doing what works for you, but making sure that if you can find that inner peace, that's what we can do for our kids. And I want to ask, because a lot of women and a lot of people, we hear this word resilient now, you know, being resilient, but what does it mean for you? And how did you, especially through those times of turmoil and, you know, coming into, like, you know, stepping into a total different lifestyle change from, you know, addiction to sobriety, what were the key points for you in that, and being able to navigate that space and build that resilience to not go back to addiction and things like that? Like, what was it?
I would say, I think that's where, like, sometimes my stubbornness comes in. You know, I'm an Aries, so I can be pretty stubborn. But I think it's more, again, we go back to what we talked about earlier about perspective. So if I look at what's going on now, like I said, like my gym clothes, 3 years of my blood, sweat and tears, push, in one little instant. But I go, okay, but I got through addiction and suicide and all that. So really, I can get through this. And I think it's about putting into perspective. We've all got a story and we've all had challenges in life. And I think I look back, I think for me, resilience is being able to look back on my challenges and have gratitude for them and go, I am who I am because I got through that. And because I got through that, I know whatever's thrown at me today, I can get through. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Like, I still got to have, you know, I sometimes call it life one meltdown at a time. You know, but I have a meltdown, I cry, I lie on the couch, I eat chocolate, I get over it, and I go, okay, what do I have to do now? And I think it's that just chipping away. Just keep, even, I think the hardest thing is like when things feel like you want to give up, like that whole, oh, I've tried everything mindset. I've tried everything, it's not working, I'm not good, and you fall back into I'm not good enough. And it's not, it just means you need to try something else. And so I think that's where I go. Like I always call life, if I have something, instead of just having plan A, I'll have plan A to Z. A doesn't work, try B. B doesn't work, try C. C doesn't work. You know, I might be down to S or T before it actually works. I go, oh, okay, that's all it took. So it's just, I think it's that keep going and trusting. You know, and I'm not saying, like I said, it's, yeah, there's days where, you know, it's just like, fuck everyone, fuck everything. You know, that's how I feel. And, you know, I'll have my little pity party, poor me. But I guess I've learned that, you know, nothing's going to change unless I change how I think about it. And I don't ever want to go back to how I was in addiction. And that's, for me, it's, I guess, I look at addiction, my addiction as a life or death thing. So it's actually in some ways easier for me not to drink, even though, because I know it's a life or death. But I think for anyone, it's really hard in our society in Australia how culturally acceptable alcohol is. And it makes me so sad because I don't know many people who drink who don't, and it doesn't impact their life in some way. There's a few people who drink socially, but, you know, it's actually a limited few because what we call social in Australia is like quite up here.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, so I think, yeah, wanting, I guess, getting to that place in yourself where you want to live your best life. So the only way to live your best life is to get rid of anything that doesn't serve you. And sometimes you've got to make really hard decisions to do that, or you need support. And that's where the asking for help, which is something I never did before, and I'm still, you know, not the best at it. But I know that sometimes I have to. And I think for women, if they're struggling, like, to reach out, like, find your tribe that's not judgmental. I think that's important, because sometimes we have friends for different reasons, and especially friends, it might be because status in society or what they give to us, networking in business or all that, and that all looks really good. But at the end of the day, you want your tribe to be people who, it doesn't matter what you do, they've got your back. And they're going to, you can reach out and not be judged. And I think that's important to find at least, even if it's one person in your life that you can say anything to and they won't judge you.
Yeah, I think that's imperative, Caroline, and such beautiful things that you've shared, and I think what we really need to say to everyone watching this, like, mindset and mental health well-being through this time is imperative, because the suicide rate is growing, as is the support for suicide, you were saying as well. And that, for me, we have been conditioned to suppress our emotions. Once we suppress our emotions and we start building with the anxiety, depression, whatever it is, it gets to a point where it seems too big for anyone to help with.
Yeah.
All it takes is that first intervention of having the awareness of, I'm not feeling well. I feel like I'm feeling this, and it's actually allowing yourself to express and feel your emotions, and to find someone, like you said, either a really close friend or family person that you feel not judged with and you feel safe with to share, or seeking some sort of support outside a coach, a holistic therapist, counselor, whatever it is, that professional that you need, but seeking support to have that space to start exploring these feelings. Because really, suicide, the mental thoughts to it is just that it feels too big to ever think that you could ever get around it. There's this problem that you cannot find a solution for, and so you feel that that's the point. Whereas if you are able to get here, like where the thoughts are starting to build up, or that feeling, is to seek out, isn't it? Like, is to find that space to express.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, I've learned to know, like, what my triggers are. Like, I as soon as I start, it'll be a body thing. Like, I get like a bit of anxiety, so I'll get like a bit trembly when my anxiety is getting up. Like, I'll be extra sensitive to comments that wouldn't normally affect me, or I'm pretty good on the old Teflon, but things that upset me more, I'd be a little bit tearier. And there might be hormonal changes, but that's when I know I'm more vulnerable. So therefore, I'm more careful on what I do. And that's when I go, okay, so my run is extra important. I can't miss that. That's like number one priority. And and I think, like, staying away from things that make you feel negative as well. And I think that's really important at the moment. Like, there's so much stuff out there, and don't get me wrong, because I'm probably on social media way too much, and I know I'm a bit of a researcher, so I like learning things. I can tell you everything there is to know about why bats carry the virus, or what the statistics are, and why which countries have got different things going on. But I do it from a very emotionally bland spot. Like, I'm a very factual, I just want to know the facts. So I stick to that. And the minute you're following people on social media who've got all this emotional attachment to what's going on, it seeps in within you. If you're vulnerable and you're just constantly reading all this stuff about how terrible it is, you sort of take it in without knowing. And same for your kids if they're on social media and stuff like that. So it's really important to filter who you follow in social media. And I know, even with the fitness industry, just before this all happened, like, I went through a stage where I went, I can't follow any more women who just show their butt at every chance they get. Even if they're trying to promote a good message, I go, like, it's just, I don't know, just not what I need to see every day, because it doesn't make me feel good. And same if there's stuff that does, if you read something that doesn't make you feel good, my theory is block, delete.
Yeah.
And live your life. And like I said, everyone's going to be different, and get that. And you don't have to go in and defend things or anything like that. Or, if it's someone else, so occasionally I might put a comment, but sometimes I go, oh, doesn't matter. So, like I said, I think for me, it's about I guess protecting myself, but also giving. I think like gratitude is a huge thing for me. And I think that comes back to perspective. I wake up every day and do my gratitude, and that part of my exercise and going out doing exercise, I see the beach and I go, oh my God, all I feel at the moment living in Australia is actually, oh my God, I'm so lucky that we live in Australia. I'm immensely grateful for everything we have. And, my family, I think it's a really good time to go, to review what's really important. And I've had a few changes, even though like my gym's closed. There's part of me that I think we were talking earlier, Tammie, where I go, I'm sort of enjoying it. And like, then I get like worried that I'm not supposed to be enjoying life at the moment because there's so much drama going on. But again, life is about enjoying it, even in the darkest circumstances. Having a sense of humor about stuff, I think, is important. Just still being able to enjoy, just because everything else looks, depressing, doesn't mean that you can't rise above that. Because what you actually do by rising above that is lift the vibration of everyone else who comes in contact with you. And I think that's like that whole sense of community, whether it's online, posting positive stuff. I'm not saying like post your vulnerable stuff, post your positive stuff as well, but always be supportive and stay away from negative, whatever it is.
It's so important, especially now. Like, but for me, I have, again, people have their own thing, but I feel a sense of excitement for a lot of what this isolation, not what's happening to people out in the world, but this form of isolation, because it's helping me understand the woman I am, the mother I am. It's helping me refocus. It's helping me rebalance. It's helping me disconnect from tech and reconnect to myself. So even in like for those who are watching, if you are in isolation, you can even isolate what you're watching. You know what I mean? Like you can connect again, like call girlfriends up and Zoom. Like we had like an hour and a half call with my sister and her kids today. It was fantastic, and it brought joy to our, both of our families, because we were just hanging out, playing games, all that kind of stuff. And it was joy, and we chose that. Now, I know that by creating joy in my family, in my unit, in my own isolation, in my world, that will ripple out. And then it makes me stronger and braver. And when something comes into my world that I let in, whether it's turning on the news just to catch up on something once, my husband likes to watch it once a night just to see what's happening in the world. And if I'm in it and I hear it, I feel like I have a bit like a more solid foundation, because I'm not constantly being bombarded. Like it's like when we put that protection up, whether you're doing it energetically or, imaginatively, whatever, it's so much stronger because it's not constantly being hit with all this negativity or scare or fear. And yes, I know life is like it's happening, but I can't do anything about that out there, but I can focus on in here. And by having the strength inside of me, it helps my kids not go into fear, helps my husband, because I'm also helping ground him to have more courage and strength within inside himself. But the ones who I really am concerned about is the single parents and the individuals. And so I know this world, firsthand. And when you've gone through hard situations where you haven't had family around, what have you done in being able to support yourself through that, so you don't, you have some sort of foundation? Is it always having someone to make sure you're checking in daily, or is it, what were you doing to help you be okay in whatever you were experiencing?
I think like I've gone through some really isolated times as a single parent. It's really hard as a single parent, and I didn't have shared custody or anything, so I literally Amadeus and I, other than going for a week to my mum's, who lives a little way away, we were together like at least 50 weeks of the year, with no other support. And we used to high five every holiday, go, yes, I don't have to see your face again for a week. But look, I've always had like really good girlfriends. I've always had girlfriends who, and I find like whenever I get into like a victim mode, where I'm feeling a bit sad and sorry, I can ring up a girlfriend and like, again, like we're saying, like, and just say, do you know what? The more I talk, the more absolutely ridiculous it all sounds. And that's why it's important to get it out there. because it's amazing. If we just let things ruminate in our head, we can create the most horrible scenarios. And then we start acting on that. Whereas once you get it out, you start hearing yourself talk, and it becomes more rational. And then you're more likely to go, yeah, no, that's not really, like, no one, like, you know, I go, because I haven't been in relationships, I'd get to that, I'm so unlovable, da 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 da, right? And then as I'd say that to a girlfriend, they go, but I love you, or your child loves you, your cat loves you, you know what I mean? I go, your family love you, and I go, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So sharing is that whole, you know, is it a problem shared is a problem halved. And I think, again, it's getting through, and I liked what you were saying before. I'm a very wear my heart on my sleeve. So whether it's been workplaces or family discussions over the years, even as a child, like, I'll cry. Like if I'm angry, I'll cry, because that's how I operate from. And, you know, I was always seen as, you know, a weak female, you know, because like I'm too emotional, you know, and a lot of you're too emotional. But it's only through time, like in jobs over time, where like I might have lost it and cried in a really difficult situation. But then I've walked away and gone, I'm going to sort this. That I've proven to people that, do you know what? Just because I'm emotional doesn't mean I'm not powerful and strong and resilient and capable. And so I allow myself to be emotional now, because I don't really care what other people judge me as. I know what I'm capable of. And I think being emotional is, I sometimes say, like, being emotional is like a superpower. I think you're stronger when you're emotional, because you're passionate about it. You know, there's a difference between being emotional and living in depression and anxiety and all that stuff. But if you can acknowledge your power in your emotion and what it means, then you can move through just about anything. And you know, I have a saying, like, I go, if you're a single mum, especially, and you're faced with another challenging situation, I go, you're a single fucking mum. Anyone who can be a single fucking mum can do fucking anything. Like, they honestly can. Just, yeah, like, you've got that resilience, and it's just about trusting yourself. Because you've will have been faced. How many articles have you read or seen on the news about, you know, I used to cop that, not so much now, but when our days were small, about how single mothers always raise dysfunctional boys. You know, my son's been like school captain twice. He's gone on to uni, did great. He's a great child. He's not dysfunctional. But the media loves to perpetuate that. So again, it's about knowing who you are and knowing what you're capable of.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Caroline. And I guess, you know, in tying this all up, is it doesn't matter about your past or where you've come from. It's about today and who you choose to be right now and moving forward. And that we all have experienced something. We've all experienced shame and guilt and hurt and anger. We've hurt people. We've been hurt. We've all had it. There's no one's better than another person. No one's worse than another person. If we just allow ourselves to understand that we have the power to choose right now and who we want to be right now, and, you know, to be vulnerable, to seek support, and to get through this in a space where you can actually thrive, then it's going to be worth reaching out and connecting. So Caroline, thank you so much for sharing your amazing experience, knowledge, advice, and love. And I'd love to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. Where can people find you?
So I've got my Facebook page, website, Caroline Bellenger, carolinebellenger.com, and that links up. I've got courses. I'm starting I've got a goal setting course at the moment. I'll drop in the link to my free worksheet that you can download now, just to get you on track. That's another thing we didn't touch on. There's so much we could touch on about set something now that you want to achieve. Like, in life, you need to have goals and dreams, and you need to put them into action, because that's what keeps you out of the past, is knowing that you've got something out there in the future that you can achieve. And yeah, exactly what Tammie said. What you do today and how you react is exactly how your future will turn out.
And I guess just reach out. I think that's all I can say is you have the obligation, you have the responsibility, and you have the choice to reach out. You're struggling, reach out. If you're struggling, seek support. If you're struggling, own it. Say thank you for having the awareness and do it. And Caroline is, she's been through addiction. So if you have she's, not just addiction, but gone through so many different things. So make sure if that's, you need support in some way, reach out to her. She has amazing support, programs, courses, coaching, all that kind of stuff. And just don't do it alone. You don't have to do this alone. Even though you feel alone in your physical space, you don't have to do it alone. So thanks, Caroline, sending you so much love, and thank you for taking time out.
Thank you, everyone.
Sending you all so much love, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Sending you all so much love. Make sure to drop any comments in the below, and we'll get back to you.
All right.